Hey there friends, what's up? Kevin here from the MSOTD Rocks YouTube channel, and today I'm reviewing the fourth studio album from Beartooth. So let's go, it's below. Before we get started though, please remember to follow MSOTD Rocks on places like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and connect with us, know the Song of the Day feature, join us on Instagram live streams, our different IGTV videos, including our behind the scenes look every single Tuesday, and the Kevin's Crappy Food series every single Thursday. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel for more album review videos, along with more Kevin Figures Out videos, more top 10s, the year-end awards, all that great stuff. And also, this is where the Chord Progression podcast lives, where we are interviewing all of the incredible upcoming, emerging, and even heavy hitters in the rock and metal scene today in a great in-depth kind of sit down, drink a beer, have a good time kind of way. You can watch interviews here on YouTube, or you can subscribe audio style on Spotify Podcasts and iHeart Radio. All the links below. And I also want to thank our sponsor, Phoenix Fitness, for sponsoring this video. Now, yeah, concerts are coming back, especially with Beartooth. You know the energy they bring, and you're going to want to be in that mosh pit, go crazy, but you want to make sure that you're fit and ready to go so that, hell, you don't like tap out halfway through. You want to make sure your physical fitness is there. So you're going to go hit the gym, make sure you get that. But when it comes to recovery, when it comes to all your diet, supplements, vitamins, whatever it might be, Phoenix Fitness has you covered. Our listeners, our viewers, get 15% off using the code MSOTD at checkout. Link description below, so go check it out, and thank you, Phoenix Fitness. So let's go into the background with Below. Their last album, Disease, came out on September 28th, 2018, and the depth of the album really takes a look at depression as a disease and how fragile life can be, as Caleb Shoma was reflecting on both the death of Kyle Pavone of We Came as Romans, along with his own suicidal thoughts. And while it didn't get the commercial reception a lot of fans had hoped for, it did peak at #1 on the hard rock and independent charts for Billboard. Now, when I listen to Disease, right now, if you look at our 2018 year-end awards for the best album of the year, Disease is the #1 album. As I've gone through it, Disease is still up there. It's constantly within my mind in the dogfight with The Silver Scream by Ice Nine Kills, and in third, consistently right behind them, is Holy Hell by Architects. So Disease was an incredible listen to, and I still go back to it all the time. It's great to work out to. I'm not gonna lie, I live to that album all the frickin' time. So now on to Below, and the album's announced on March 26, 2021 with the release of the second single, The Past Is Dead. Now, Devastation came out a week beforehand with much more of a heavy, hard-hitting head metal, hardcore punk kind of sound, and the band has said this is going to be their heaviest and darkest album to date, and especially going through the COVID-19 pandemic and writing a lot of this, we can expect a lot from Caleb Shoma here, so let's see if this album hits on our expectations. Start with the constant construction and instrumentation of the Below album. Again, Beartooth had said that this was going to be their heaviest album to date and their deepest album to date, so we're going to get a lot of heavier stuff as well. And we know Beartooth is consistent with this hardcore punk metalcore blended style that has a lot of energy behind it, so did they really hit on the this is going to be their heaviest album to date? The answer actually is both yes and no, but both yes and no are for good reasons. So where did it come in where this definitely is their heaviest album today? What I saw in a couple of these songs where they really took that Beartooth sound, high energy, high impact, king of the riff kind of stuff, really added this more heaviness to it, this really much more anger, this much more drive behind it. And it really gave these songs that feel of this is definitely their heaviest to date. Take a look at Devastation, because basically they took classic Beartooth, they had a more heavy metal to it, and then they cranked that up to 11. This is one of the heaviest songs on the record. Also take a look at Hell of It, because there's more of this metalcore burst style behind it with a more metal approach, but it's just straight up in your face and just going crazy. And then Fed Up, probably one of my favorite songs on the album as well. It's very fast paced. It has kind of a punk rock construction there where the verses it's going to be blank for a while and the instrumentals are going to come in really heavy and hard, but it does have a little bit of a lighter feel to it. However, the heaviness, the draw behind it is really there, so they definitely hit on this. But I think where we really wanted to see Beartooth continue to grow was, if they said this was going to be the heaviest album to date, were they going to incorporate some different heavy metal styles in there with their classic sound, with their classic energy to really create some great sounding songs? And the answer is they absolutely did. Take a look at the titular song Below, because when I listened to it, the first thing I thought of was, did they blend their style with like 2013 Avenged Sevenfold, and that's what I thought because it shows a more concentrated style of metal in this great way to drive us into the album and really into the depths of Caleb Shummel's mind at this point. Also take a look at I Won't Give It Up because they took this more punk rock base with the overall instrumental construction and pattern and really pushed it on us here, and it really worked out well because even though we got a lighter sound behind it, yeah, we did get this more punk rock raw sound, so the heaviness was there. One where they didn't necessarily hit on the absolute heaviness of it, but the track really works well, especially when you add the theme on top of it, is probably my favorite track in the overall record, which is Skin. When you listen to it, it does have that classic Beartooth energetic style and flow, but there is this more of a lighter tone to it. And what I really liked about that was because it maintains that feel of Beartooth, but it shows them a lot more growth within certain sounds, and this was the most dense song, I think, in the whole entire record. Then the last riff, this long, heavy, melodic instrumental style that closed out the album at almost 4.5, 5 minutes. I don't know what it is, but it just worked perfectly in there. So you're seeing a lot more dynamic styles with Beartooth going heavy, incredibly heavy, and then even a little bit lighter within their own style as well. If there's anything that picked up as a potential problem for this album, it was when it came to the patterns of these songs. They're all relatively the same in the Beartooth style, with intro, verse, maybe a pre-chorus, chorus, verse, maybe a pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, breakdown, chorus, maybe an outro. And don't get me wrong, that's never a bad thing, but it does get a little bit stale from time to time if you focus in on it. However, to Beartooth's credit, they work really well with that style. Very similar to what Breaking Benjamin does. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So overall, when it comes to concept construction and instrumentation of Below by Beartooth, yeah, we saw them go heavy, deep, and hard like they said they would on songs like Dominate, Devastation, Hell of It. And then they even brought in some different styles, like with more of an Avenged Sevenfold Heavy Metal Stuff 2013 on a song like Below, a little more of a hard rock pace kind of feel to songs like No Return and The Past Is Dead. We saw some lighter styles on there like The Answer and Skin, but what we ended up seeing was a more dynamic album that really focused in on the heaviness with the instrumentation, but when those instrumentals went a little bit lighter, the themes were a lot darker, which we'll get to later, so damn. Now it's time to go to the vocals from Mr. Caleb Shummel, and when we listen to Beartooth, we hear Caleb really go with more clean style, but then when he does those energetic kind of screams, they technically have more of like this clean, audible sound to them, and I really do like that because it allows people more to get into the Beartooth style, and when it flows really nicely with the instrumentation, with the loudness and with the energy behind it, I mean, look at Disgusting, look at Disease, look at Aggressive, and you're gonna get that. Now on Below, do we get the same thing? And I gotta say, yeah, Caleb really did a good job with this one. What I mean by this is when you take a look at how the instrumentals are constructed and how the flow of everything is, Caleb perfectly used his tone of voice, whether it was the audible unclean, whether it was full unclean, whether it was clean, whether it was more melodic, whatever it might have been, to really amplify everything that was going on and really make these songs really stand out and pop. Start out with Devastation because with that more focus on a heavy metal inspired track, we are getting those more energetic, unclean style vocals from Caleb Shummel that are still audible in the verses, and then when the chorus comes, we get a cleaner style, but it's a little bit more drop back with a little bit of that like backing chant room, and I really do like how this works to bring up that power. The Past Is Dead, Caleb goes really clean throughout the whole entire thing, even with the bridge one. I think The Past Is Dead, with how he uses more of this a little bit of a rougher but still very clean style, really works out. Plus the woes that are added in there, I really do like. Then Fed Up, I really like what he does here because he uses more of that clean style with a little bit of roughness attached to it, but he works so well at the pacing to keep up the super duper energetic style. I was a big fan of this. And those are just 3 of the singles. I gotta go some deep cuts for the next ones. Going to the deep cuts, let's first look at The Answer. What I liked about this one was because Caleb was going with this more clean style, similar to the chorus of the In Between, but with more of this melodic approach, and that was the way to roll here. But that more melodic feel really led to that feeling of, you know, you finally discovered something as you went so deep below within your mind. And then of course Skin, probably my favorite track on the whole entire record. I think a lot of people are going to agree with me on this one. And it was because the instrumentals have that Beartooth energy, but they just aren't as heavy. But Caleb focused on that more clean, even sometimes a little more melodic style against those instrumentals, just really brought out the power behind this track. We really got Beartooth, and a little bit more like a palatable taste in terms of what popular culture would like. But my God, it was still really well done. This was perfect. So overall, when it comes to the vocals from Caleb Shummel, yeah, it was an absolute win here. Everything that he needed to do to amplify the instrumentals, to amplify the meanings of these songs, which we'll get to next, he absolutely did, absolutely crushed it. Perfect at this, as always. So, I mean, we're just seeing Disease just keep getting better and better. Like, we're seeing this growth to Below potentially being the best Beartooth album so far. Now it's time to jump into the themes of the album and how those song styles really played into those themes. And of course, with this being Beartooth's deepest and heaviest album, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Caleb Shomo really dove deep into his mind, really dove deep into his emotions, and really discovered some things that, maybe you didn't want to discover. Take a look at Below when it opens with this. It sets us to jump into our mindset, preparing to discover what's inside. I mean, we don't know what we're going to end up finding. Go to Devastation because it reflects on the pandemic forcing this precarious mental switch and the difficulty of dealing with something like this from what we've been doing the previous weekend, March 8th, 2020 to March 15th, 2020. Just a completely different mindset and how that impacted us. Take a look at The Past is Dead about accepting the problems that you had had in life in the past, accepting that they're not going to define who you are going forward. Take a look at Fed Up because it talks about the drive to succeed despite the pitfalls in life, including the pandemic and other people that might be around you. Also take a look at Skin because it talks about how people say that they accept you, or even like in Same Tone, it says that they're going to accept you, but they kind of use that against you. You feel uncomfortable to even open up to somebody, and you feel uncomfortable just to be yourself. And then The Answer talks about Caleb trying to suppress those feelings for all the people around him, but ends up working to find the answer and how to really understand this and how to bring out the best in him. And the last riff really feels like you're pulling out of that depth going below, and it's not going to be over, but at least you have something. So it's really transcendent. And overall, when it comes to the style song, the album hits absolutely on those because the heavier songs like Dominate, Devastation, Fed Up, and Hell of It really focusing on the heavier stuff and really get angry, but the content behind it really drives a little more of an angry feel, a little bit more of this impactful stuff. But then some of the ones that have a little bit of a softer vibe, such as The Answer, No Return, and of course Skin, they have a deeper, more emotional style theme, so they don't have to be as heavy, but they still connect just well. And then the last riff closing this album out, oh my god, exactly what you needed. Exactly what you needed. I can't believe they did that. So holy shit, man. All right, now time to rate Below by Beartooth, and it is... I'm gonna give Below a 9.5 out of 10. So 9.5 out of 10, there's gotta be something I like about this album, and when the band said this is gonna be their heaviest album to date, on some of these songs, especially with the instrumentation, they absolutely hit it. And so they took the Beartooth style, the hooky choruses, the hooky riffs, the breakdowns, and all the energy behind it, and brought some heavier songs into the foray to really hit us straight in the face on them and really focus in on that style. Songs like Devastation, Dominate, Fed Up, Hell of It, and then even Below, which even had a little bit of a slower pace, but it really reminded me of, again, that 2013 Avenged Sevenfold style mixed in with Beartooth. So we got a lot of the heaviness from that outright. But then we also got them to mix some of their own style in with some other stuff, they'll experiment a little bit, and they really did a great job on this. Now when it comes to the heaviness, while instrumentally it wasn't necessarily there, the themes behind them were there completely, so you really still get that heaviness, that deep, that darkness that Below had. I mean, take a look at No Return, it had more of a hard rock approach. Skin was just classic Beartooth, a little bit more of a lighter style too, but it worked out to perfection. I Won't Give It Up had more of this punk rock feel, and The Answer felt like a lighter, the in-between, so... I mean, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculously good. I do also have to mention Caleb's vocals on this because they are top tier. Again, whatever the album was calling for, Caleb Shomo absolutely hit on. When you needed a heavier, more unclean audible vocal on songs like Dominate, on songs like Devastation, on Hell of It, you got it. You got that really raspier sound to really drive forward behind it. But then the pacing of it overall really worked well. Take a look at The Past is Dead, how everything is paced together and it feels well. Again, Fed Up, the amped up feeling behind it and the energy behind it really is perfect to really bring forward that energy and that anger and just that power that the song has. And then the lighter style of vocal on See It is to perfection on this. You cannot beat this. You just can't. But if there is one thing that I have to put in the dislike section, to be fair, it is the fact that when you take a look at the bass pattern of these songs, they're all relatively the same with, again, intro verse, maybe a pre-chorus, chorus, verse, maybe a pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, breakdown, chorus, maybe an outro. And don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing, but if you're gonna wanna get that 10 out of 10, if there would have been a little more variation in there, but this album would have hit just the same, that's where the 10 out of 10 comes in. But I wanna be fair, that was the one thing that stood out to me as like, maybe I'm a little bit concerned about that, but still, if that's the one thing I'm concerned about, Who cares? Alrighty, now time for my final thought on Below by Beartooth. And when I got to listen to this album, I was expecting the heaviness that I heard on songs like Hell of It, Fed Up, and Devastation. But we got so much more than that. And the songs that we got were also differently influenced by other styles of metal, other styles of hard rock, hell, some punk rock, a little bit more of a lighter in-between style. And then you even get Beartooth with a little bit more of a lighter, palatable style on the song like Skin, and it just works out so well where the lighter songs have the deeper meanings and the heavier songs have the harder instrumentals. So you did get the heaviest, the deepest, the darkest Beartooth album here. Caleb Schuller's vocals absolutely nail this every step of the way, where we feel like we're diving deeper in our minds. We're discovering all these different things about ourselves and all these different pains and all these different other emotional issues that we might have been hiding, and then we finally see the answer. But then the last riff pulls us back like, this ain't over. So because you're always gonna have to continue to work on yourself. And this is the first one I've ever given a 9.5 out of 10. I'm absolutely standing by it. And at this moment, this is the #1 candidate for Album of the Year 2021. I'll be listening to this one on repeat continually. Could Beartooth have 2 straight album cycles where, for me, their album is the best album of the year? We'll see what Ice Nine Kills has to say, because they were the competition last time. Architects, I wasn't the biggest fan of For Those Who Wish. I liked it, but not all of it. So that's going to be not in the conversation. But Ice Nine Kills could be. But as of right now, #1. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you for watching this album review of Below by Beartooth. Be sure to go check out the album because it is absolutely killer if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. My name is Kevin from the MLD Rocks YouTube channel. And with the hat flip, see ya!